A great first make it, don't buy it item is yogurt. Yogurt is an incredibly cost-effective switch to make. This gallon of milk is $2.48 at my Walmart right now. A quart of yogurt, of Greek yogurt at my Walmart is $3.38. Okay. 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Now, when you make your yogurt out of a gallon of milk, you're not going to get 4 full quarts because you want to thicken it to get that Greek, but you are going to get at least 2, maybe 3. And if you're not going for super thick yogurt, you could get 3 plus to almost 4 quarts of yogurt, this size container, out of 1 gallon of milk. Where this is 2 something and this is 3 something, even making 1, we saved some money. The ingredients for yogurt are very simple. We need milk, whatever kind of milk. This is just whole milk. We can use whole milk, 1%, 2%. I would not recommend ultra filtered. It can be goat's milk, cow's milk, sheep's milk. Plant milks like almond milk are a different process. I don't do that process myself, so I can't tell you that one. But any cow, goat, sheep milk is going to work in this case. You also are going to need yogurt. And I know it's a little counterintuitive to say, hey, I need yogurt to make yogurt, but we do. Once you've been making it yourself, you just are always going to have some on reserve. So you're going to need about a half a cup to a gallon of milk for your next batch. So you just reserve some of what you've already made. And then you're going to need either a instant pot or a heavy bottom pot if you want to make it on the stove. You're going to need something to stir with, a wooden spoon, a balloon whisk. You're going to need something to measure the temperature. Now in an Instapot, it's going to take care of that for you. If not, you either need a meat thermometer or an Insta-Read thermometer, something to keep up with the temperature. We need something to mix in, and we need something to store in. Now I've been storing in these. I'm trying to get away from plastic, move more to glass. So my last batch, I stored some in this and some in mason jars. We're going for whatever jars I have on hand. The first step is we're going to bring our milk to room temperature. Nothing fancy to do there. Take it out, set it on the counter. Once our milk is at room temperature, we're going to pour it into our pot. I'm using the Instant Pot. I'm just going to pour it in. If you're going to do it on the stove, you're going to pour it into your heavy bottom pot on the stove. With my milk poured in, I'm going to put the lid on my Instant Pot and lock it in place. If you're doing this on the stove, you do not need to necessarily put a lid on it right now, but it's necessary for the Instant Pot. So if we're doing it on the stove, we're just going to turn the heat on. If we're doing it here, we're going to press our yogurt button. Okay, it's going to set itself to 30 minutes and we're going to press start. So that is all I have to do right here. In the pot, I'm going to turn my heat up and I'm going to stir occasionally. If I'm doing it in here, I don't need to worry about temperature. If I'm doing it on the stove, I do. So that's when you're going to get your thermometer out. And we're looking for 180 degrees. All right. You don't have to hit all the way to 180. At 165, 170, you're probably okay. 180 is going to give us a creamier, richer final product. So I'm going for 180 if I'm doing it on the stove, but my Instant Pot is going to do that math for me. So I'm going to leave this for the next 30 minutes and walk away. We've reached the next point on our Instant Pot. It says cooling down. It tells me to open the lid to cool down faster. Now, if we were doing this on the stove at this point, we would have been stirring our pot and measuring the temperature until we reached that 180 that we're looking for a nice creamy yogurt. So now we need to bring this back down to 110. So if you are doing this on the stove, I want you to go ahead and cut the heat, move the pan to another burner, give it a little bit of stir, and leave it alone. In this case, I don't have to do anything. When the temperature reaches 110, this is going to beep. So on your stove pot, you're going to check that temperature at about 30 minutes or so, and then just keep checking until you hit about that 110. If you miss it and you get down to 105, 108, you're okay. Don't go above 110. You don't want to kill off your good bacteria. So we're going to let this cool down until it beeps at me again. As your milk is cooling, it's going to start developing a film on the top. If you look closely, I hope you can see this. It almost looks like it's got a layer of plastic wrap sitting over it. And you can just scoop this right off. If you forget to, it's not a big deal, but we can scoop this right out. I'm going to drop out the rest of the liquid, and I'm just going to take this away. All right, my Instant Pot is beeping at me. It's time to add my starter. So if you're doing this on the stove, this is when your temperatures hit that 110 mark. So I have half a cup of yogurt. I've given this a quick stir, made sure I don't have any more layer on the top. And now I'm just going to take some of my milk and I'm going to add it to the yogurt in the separate container. This yogurt is at room temperature, but I don't want to pour it just right into this milk that is warmer than it. So we're going to temper it. We're going to pour a little of this warm milk into this yogurt. And then we're going to use a whisk. This is a balloon whisk or a fork, a spoon. We're just going to mix this together. And then we're going to temper it again. A little bit more of the warmer liquid into the cooler liquid. Okay, that's a pretty thin consistency now. We're just going to pour this in, scrape down, don't want to lose any, and then we're going to stir this gently in. Okay. Doesn't need a huge amount of stirring, just worked in. I don't feel any settling at the bottom. All right, my lid is going back on, locked in place, and I'm just going to press the start button, and this is going to move it into the ferment stage. Now, for the ferment stage, we need to pick how long. If I want a super thick, creamy yogurt, close to a Greek yogurt without a lot of straining, I'm going for 12 hours. If I want a drinkable yogurt, I'm going for about 6 hours. So I'm going to put this one, I'm going to press the button on here and I'm going to set the time, and I'm going to give this one 8 hours. Personally, I like it a little more than that. Well, 9, 8, go 7:55. That's what it wants to give me. I personally will take mine to 12. The person I'm making this for wants it a little thinner, so I'm going with 8 hours. And it's now entered the ferment stage, and it's going to sit here for 7 hours and 55 minutes. It's basically keeping it warm. So if you're doing this on the stove now, you've mixed in your culture, you're going to then pour it into the jars you're going to use, which could be mason jars, could be leftover old yogurt containers, and you're going to keep those warm for that long of time. Easiest way, glass jars like mason jars, into a crock pot, set to warm. You can also wrap them in towels and store them in your oven with your oven light on if you're using some sort of other container. But if you're doing it in your Instant Pot, it's going to hold that temperature for you, and you don't need to do anything else to insulate it. All right, so late last night, this dinged that it was done. And all I did was I took the bowl out of the Instant Pot, put a bowl cover on it and put it in the fridge, and then I left it to sit in the fridge all night. If you had done this on the stove top and you had your jars either soaking in your crock pot or wrapped up in towels in your oven, you would have taken those and put those into the fridge. All right, so I'm going to give this a stir now. It's decently thick. I would keep mine processing for about 12 hours to be thicker because I actually like a real thick yogurt. But this is not too thin for an 8-hour soak, and the person that I am making this batch for particularly wants it thinner. So this is an 8-hour ferment, not soak. This is an 8-hour ferment, and it's a decent thick yogurt. So if you are happy with your consistency like this, you're just going to start spooning it into something to keep it in. Glass jars, recycled containers, whatever you want to put it in. If you want it to get thicker, you can take some cheesecloth. If you have reusable, that's great. If not, you can get disposable cheesecloth. You can get that just at Walmart, or pretty much grocery stores have it. You're going to line a funnel, okay, or a colander with your cheesecloth. Put it over a bowl, pour your yogurt into here and let it soak and let it hang. And the liquid will come out the bottom, and the yogurt you want to keep will stay inside. So since I'm happy with this consistency, I'm just going to start putting it into those jars. All right, so at the consistency that we left it, I did end up filling 4-quart jars. I am reusing lids. You can see underneath the sticker. I am reusing lids because I'm not processing these. These are going to be refrigerated just like they are. I am using a vacuum sealer to seal the lid to it, but I am going to still send it to the person with the ring on it, so that they have a way to put it back in the fridge. These 4 quarts out of 1 gallon of milk is a great way to save some money and get something you need for a whole lot less money. I still have a little bit in here. I'm going to put this aside, and this will be what I start my next batch, because I need to do a batch now for our house. I'm going to start our batch with this that I've put aside so that I have cultures ready to go and don't have to buy any more yogurt.